All right, yo ho! It's a pirate's life for us. These next few
Mm-hmm.
weeks, we're about to get into our Pirates of the Caribbean or Caribbean, if you're nasty, movie review
Yeah.
series.
That's pretty nasty. Why would you do that? Why would you
Why
do
would you do
such a thing?
that? It's like no one ever calls it the Caribbean unless you're talking about the movies.
It's true. Pirates
Otherwise,
of the
it's
Caribbean.
Caribbean. I don't know how that worked. I mean, they pronounced it that way in this movie, like
Hmm.
once that I heard, but
Yeah.
really
Caribbean? Yeah.
Caribbean.
Oh, okay. In
Now
the entire
Elizabeth Swan
Caribbean.
said Caribbean at one point, so I was like,
Okay.
okay, but it took on a life of its own. It was really like everybody pronounces it that way just for the movie series.
Pretty
But
much, yeah.
if you don't know, we've done some movie review series on this channel. We've done several at this point. We've done Star Wars, The Godfather, Shrek, Ghostbusters, Halloween Town, Harry Potter.
I
Is that
know.
all
We've
of
done a
them?
lot.
I think that's it. Might be all of them.
I think so. Godfather, Harry Potter, Halloween Town, Shrek.
Star Wars,
Right?
Ghostbusters.
Yes, those. There we go. We get them all.
Sure. But
Yeah.
this last one or this series right here, was decided actually randomly at the end
Hmm.
of a series of videos we did called the Chaos Month, where
True.
things were decided by random, spinning this wheel behind me. And we, in
Hmm.
fact, took several different movie series, threw them on the wheel to decide what would be our next movie review series. And we said we didn't know exactly when we would start, but it will be the next one we do. And
Right?
Pirates of the Caribbean was, in fact, selected.
Curse,
And
Zach. You're
here
cursed.
we are.
You're gonna get it. You're gonna get the curse. This is the
Yeah.
curse of the Black Pearl right
Yeah.
here.
We're on the tail end of the summer here. Um, we might have to like skip a week in the middle there,
Hmm.
because I'm going to be on vacation at one point. But more or less, these next month and a half or so videos
All
going to be going
pirates.
through all the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, and I'm sure we'll do like a little ranking at the end as well. We usually do that. So before we get into it, what we should say our experience with the Pirates movies coming into it.
Hmm.
What is your experience with them thus far?
My experiences. I've seen every single film on the list here. The last two I've only seen, I think, once in theaters. No, the second one I saw twice in theaters. Or that. Sorry, I should say the fifth one I saw twice in theaters. I
Hmm.
was thinking second of the after the trilogy. Saw the fifth one twice in theaters. I only have seen the fourth one one time. And I remember generally really liking all of them to varying degrees. After two and three get a little muddy in some areas from memory. Um, and four and five, I remember even less about. I know five has a kind of not a great reputation online, but I remember kind of enjoying it. I think I remembered enjoying it more than I liked the fourth one, but we're gonna find that out again. And the
Yeah.
first movie I've probably seen over a dozen times.
Okay.
So
So, yeah, I've seen them all. A lot of these movie series, I'm usually like a one and done kind of guy. I don't really rewatch
mm,
too much. So it has been years since I've really seen a lot of these. The first one, I remember watching a good amount of like reactions and stuff, so I know like generally a
mm,
good amount of it. But the other one's been years since I've watched them. Really, I do remember, like kind of. I remember at the time I was very young, honestly, when these movies came out. So who knows what my opinions
yeah,
are now? But I remember at the time liking On Stranger Tides, or is that the one with Penelope Cruz?
it is the Penelope
Yeah,
Cruz one.
I
Yep.
remember liking that one even when a lot of people didn't. And then I remember hating the last one, the most recent one. But we'll see how it feels now.
There's
But
there's things I hate about it, but I think overall I liked the movie.
so
But
this will be the first movie
we'll see.
series where we both technically seen them all. I think so.
Yeah, I
It'll
think
be a
so.
different experience, but we're always reviewing it through a new lens because not necessarily when we're watching these movies. Originally, we're not looking at them the most critical eye necessarily.
Right,
So
because I think the only exception is like I had seen all the Star Wars movies and you hadn't. I think.
yeah, but we at least always
Yeah.
have someone who
Yeah.
hasn't seen them.
Yeah. But no, yeah, the first time we've seen them all.
Yeah.
So, but yeah.
All right. So as always with our reviews, we started off nowadays with we call it our gut punch. It was a gut check.
The gut punch? What are we gut punching each other? What is this? What are you talking about? I'm not gut punching you.
It's the gut check
It's a
where
gut
we're gonna
check.
give our score going into it, and then after the review, we can decide to stay the same or change at the end accordingly, and we'll lock it in at the end. All right, so let's check it out. What we have
All right.
going on? 3, 2, 1. Wow. All right. I got an 8. You got 9.5.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, I do.
All right. Tell me.
So I think probably before seeing it again, I mean, I love this movie. This is like one of my favorites. This is like a standby go-to. Like I said, I've seen it over a dozen times probably. I love it. I've always kind of been in love with this movie. I think I've only grown to appreciate it more as time has gone on, because I think this movie, this one in particular, has aged like fine wine. So it's so good still that it's almost surprising that this movie looks as good as it does, and it was made in 2003. A lot of the effects and everything looks really pretty good still. There's like a little bit of like kind of just general jank. I mean, it was 20 years ago now, but
Right.
I would say overall it still looks stunning as a movie. I think it's shot particularly well. The script is like pitch perfect. I like literally no notes. It's like pretty much a perfect script if you ask me. I think it's written especially well. It's very clever. It's a very clever movie, and I appreciate that when a script can be that way. There's lots of. I was watching it with my housemate, and we were both kind of remarking about like how there are some movies where it's like they're just action set pieces, and like you're not expected to like have continuity. Like your brain doesn't allow you to have continuity from scene to scene, but this movie does that like perfectly. There's always some continuity between like even in the same like general action sequence. There's always like little things that are going on that are always. It feels contiguous. Like it's very well done in that regard. And again, that's just down to the script, the editing, the score, timeless, the performances, hilarious, chilling. It's all just like every single piece in place just works so much better than if you were just pitched this idea in an elevator. Hey, Disney's making a movie based on the ride at Disney World. So you're like, what? What? What do you mean? What? They did that with Haunted Mansion and it sucked. It had Eddie Murphy in it. No one cared.
Right.
But then this came out, and but then this came out. I mean, I think some people. I think it did okay at the box office, but no one really talks about that movie anymore.
Well, there was like an old one, and then they made a new one, right? Wasn't there multiple movies on that?
Of the Haunted Mansion.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I was talking about
recently.
They made another one that was like a huge flop.
Yeah.
Which I don't know. I've heard that's actually not that bad, but regardless.
But around the same time, yeah, it's this.
Yeah. I think they were trying to be like, what works? We gotta animated properties. They're not making as much money anymore. We gotta figure out what works. So,
I can't wait. I can't wait till we do the reverse remake of Pirates and make it animated instead of live action.
Do you know how much fun that would be, though?
Okay.
That would actually be really fun if they did that.
Yeah.
I think that would be pretty great.
They're not brave enough to do so.
They're not brave enough to do that.
They'll put it on Disney Plus like a little cartoon like show. Yeah, that's all they'll do.
It's just such a well-crafted movie, and it scratches my like. Anyone who knows me knows that I have a love for the Age of Sail. That's like, other than the ancient world, the Age of Sail is like that's like my favorite period in history. I love it. I love boats. I love ships. I love sailing. You know, all that. I that's just like, it's like everything that, because I grew up going to coastal Maine. And that was like always a thing that just like fascinated and it was romanticized very much to me. And so having a fun adventure film like that, that's just endlessly entertaining.
Man, remember
I
when
mean,
some people sacrificed all
Oh
their
God.
toes just to get a meat?
that's been happening to me today.
Oh God.
It's been freaking me out. I had like I was listening to something earlier, like when I was working. I have like bone conduction earphones, so I'm able to like still like talk and stuff if something's playing. But I was talking to somebody and I'd like paused whatever I was listening to, and all of a sudden in the middle of it, like it just starts up like full blast, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm sorry, I have to pause here for a sec so I can like stop this. So just randomly, stuff's just randomly. Anyway, that was very weird. It's an endlessly entertaining film. Like I still am finding. I don't know. I'm saying necessarily finding new things to enjoy about it every time, but like, it's just a movie that it's like I said, it's aged so gracefully. It's just still an entertaining movie. It's still a funny movie. The comedy works really well. I mean, I just it's just so much fun. It's just such a fun, enjoyable romp of a film that's also like smart and yeah. I love this movie. It's one of my it is one of my favorites for sure. I love the first of the Black Pearl.
I'm with it. It's not more. It's not like I have anything against it. It's more that I've never really, in my mind, I've never viewed it as like in the shelf of like excellence. Though I do really enjoy it. So I was just kind of hesitant to give it a too high of a score, at least to start. Yeah. I could see going up a little bit, but not quite as high on that overall. I do think there's something to be said about like giving credit to these things that we kind of take for granted now. Like you watch this movie and it's like, oh, that's Jack Sparrow. That's the theme song. We know that. We just know that. But if you think about the fact that, like, yeah, you know that by heart because it's an instantly iconic role, an iconic theme. So it's hard to, you got to really give it more credit than you think to sometimes because it's almost like a subconscious thing. Like, oh, we already know that. That's Jack Sparrow. But it's just like, that's a great role. He came up with that role and made it what it is out of nothing. We had nothing, and then there was Jack Sparrow. And then we had and the same with the theme. We just know it by heart, just like an Indiana Jones theme. It's like not quite that level, but it's still pretty iconic, you know. Having like it's one of those movies you haven't watched it. I haven't watched it for years, and I'll still know the theme by heart, you know. And those are two big things. Where it's like, if you look at it on the surface, you might not give it the appreciation it deserves now. Having like years of it just being in the cultural zeitgeist of films and whatnot.
Yeah.
So that's a big thing. I mean, Jack Sparrow, Johnny Depp as Jack Sparrow is like so pivotal to the movie. Obviously, it carries a lot of the heart of the movie. Is
he was nominated for Best Supporting Actor at the Oscars for this role.
Yeah.
That's I think that speaks to the credit of how much of an impact that has. It's like it's a kind of a comedic role, but like, man, he just nails it. He just nails it because it's not just comedy. He has like the just charisma, like oozing charisma.
Yeah, and it's like the particular mannerisms that really sell it as like such a unique character. That's not like doesn't feel like an imitation of anything else. It's like its own thing.
Which is, I think he said he was inspired by Keith Richards, I think. And like some other like people he's interacted with, like rockers that kind of like
that's right.
They're kind of that. Drunk, you know, maybe a little bit drunk and like a little bit constantly, maybe.
Yeah. So, I forget where he did say that or I did hear that. Yeah. It was like going for the rocks. He's like a rock star of pirates, kind of.
Yeah.
You know, and definitely you have everything from the eyeliner to the way he carries himself. But you just have that, and then it's like over the top action sequences and wackiness. Like it doesn't take itself too seriously. You're able to just have fun with it, kind of thing. And then you have the characters that play like the straight man off of Jack Sparrow, which make him work more because it's not just Jack Sparrow and a bunch of crazy people doing crazy things all the time. It's him bouncing off of these other people who are just like very even keeled, normal characters. Like Will Turner, Elizabeth Swann types. It really works. It's a dynamic that really works. The fun cast of characters, and it's got a nice vibe to it. Yeah, I really like Pirates in general. Black Sails is one of my favorite TV shows, actually.
Yeah, and I haven't watched that, which is a crying shame. I know I've heard really good stuff about it.
So good. It's one of those rare shows where like actually wraps itself up nicely. It's a nice, concise 4 seasons. It tells the story it wants to tell. It doesn't get canceled. It also doesn't go on too long. It like keeps it tight and does like you get some satisfying character arcs and everything, and you get the whole pirate vibe in there. But yeah, Pirates is just like it's such a staple of Pirates of the Caribbean is such a staple of pirates in movies. So
yeah.
I don't. It's not like I have big complaints about it. But.
Right. Well, one of the things that I really appreciated watching it again this time was a lot of these kind of movies, like family movies, or even just like general films, like even just being made now. None of the characters that, even characters that are sort of silly or goofy, no one in the film is like stupid. Like people, they pick up on. So like one of the things that I was really appreciating was like Jack would say something, or he would intimate something, and then Will would kind of like pick up on it, be like, he doesn't just pass it off. It's just like proper leverage. Like when he hears that, he's like, he knows, oh, like, well, first of all, he's like, it's a callback to him using leverage in the cell, but it's also he knows, he's like, well, what does he mean? He's like, he knows it has to do with me. So how am I important in this? Like, what does this have to do with that? Stuff like that, like intuiting, you only help me when you mention my father, stuff like that. But it's not just him. Like all the other characters have that kind of intelligence. Like, that's what I mean with the script is in and of itself well crafted, because characters don't just do things for kind of no reason, and no one's like kind of oblivious to things. There's a general flow of logic and a general like intelligence to the characters.
Except for the like Dumb and Dumber characters. Who were their names?
Pintel and Rangetti. Yeah, they're kind of. But the thing about them is that like they are sort of like comic relief-ish, but they are also legitimately kind of scary. Like when they first show up, especially. And they're like creeping in on Elizabeth
really make
when she's hiding.
These pirates in general, when they give their entrance, they're just like the most ugly, like scaring. Like they want to make them look as savage as possible, like in their appearance. Just like nasty, like beards, like, and they're just going up to people like, eh.
Except for Barbosa,
right?
Who always carries himself like a fine gentleman.
Yes.
Which I says again, that's like another little character thing. Yeah.
But there is this sense of pirating that's throughout the whole movie, like this idea of like do anything, lie, cheat, and steal to get what you want, kind of thing. And it's like everybody's. You see so many examples of people being self-serving, the characters just using each other, like making agreements to get what they need for the time, and then just stabbing them in the back. And you see that in later movies as well. It continues to be a theme,
Yeah. Backstabbing and double crossing and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, which is it makes for fun moments, and to see like development of different characters like Will Turner and Elizabeth Swann, who went from not being in the pirating world to being in it and doing those same kind of things. Elizabeth Swann, she even does it towards the end of this movie too. She knows she needs to get Jack drunk, and has like they're always making schemes. And then you see her, I know in the future movie will do her own bigger.
Well, we'll get into that. Yeah. I have some opinions on that. So, I don't know. Maybe I'll change my mind on some of that going into that. But
it's a fun thing to go down. It's almost in a weird way. It's kind of like a Survivor, social deduction kind of game where it's like they're all playing their angles and using each other as they need. But And it's interesting. You don't really know, like, is Jack Sparrow a good guy? I mean, Will Turner, Elizabeth Swann say he's a good guy. He's a pirate, but he's a good guy, kind of thing, as a
Yeah.
ongoing theme. But it's like, and then he always does something, but expects it does it to help himself in the long run. So it's like an interesting question of, and he's like kind of an enigma in that way, Jack Sparrow.
But another thing I also was appreciating again, and I've always really enjoyed the sort of because like our early antagonists, I guess you could say, is basically like the British Royal Navy. And
Which you instantly want to root for, and
which you instantly want to root for,
electric
absolutely.
personalities.
But I like how they're all about duty, right? That's like their whole kind of thing, the whole shtick, I guess you could say. And like you kind of, the script doesn't paint them as evil. It really does kind of get you in the court where it's like you totally get where they're coming from. It's just like, but we're going to be rooting for Will and saving Elizabeth in this way, like, because Norrington's, he's just kind of a stuffy, boring guy, right?
Yeah,
He's just kind of a stuffy, boring guy. He's all about duty and all that stuff, but it's like, but it's more exciting, obviously the blacksmith who's turned pirate is a lot more, more exciting character. Character introductions, another thing I want to point out here. Several great ones.
Yeah, Jack Sparrow's entrances.
Jack Sparrow's like one of the best film entrances in film history.
It's so good. The framing,
it's
he's coming in on the ship.
It's perfect comedy. It's just like everything about it is so good.
It really tells you everything you need to know about this character, almost, without like straight up showing his crazy antics immediately. It's like he's like, looks like a competent pirate, got it going on. Here he comes into dock, and it's just a sinking ship. We immediately know we're not in for like a serious pirate guy here.
Right.
But it's a fun. It gets you in the fun angle immediately.
It's a shilling to moor your boat here. This is like a mast sticking out of the water. Yeah. Yep. So that one, but also Will Turner's introduction gets me every time. It's just a simple like wide shot of the hall, and it's just like him like just looking something, and he breaks a chandelier. Or he breaks like a brazier or something, and so then he has to like look around and like stow it away.
We've been there,
someone
right?
catches him. 100%.
I can't think of an equivalent, but it's definitely like I didn't do anything to break this thing. I'm not about to be like caught with it. Let me shove it into some random thing.
Right.
Slip it in there.
Yeah. So.
But yeah, Will Turner, and then you have the whole scene in the blacksmith. In the blacksmith shop where they come to meet, and the whole action sequence. So it gives you the whole action angle of it too, where it's like, okay, we're not going for. We know what we're getting into immediately. It's not like super serious pirating action. It's like over the top, wacky, fun stuff because they're like bouncing each other up. There's hitting each other with planks, and
there's parts of it that like things like that really do replicate. Now, have you ever been to Walt Disney World? I'm not sure if we've ever. So I did. It was 14 years ago now. So memory's a little foggy on it. They've since like altered the ride to have it have more pirates like film related stuff in it. So it does have like Jack Sparrow shows up multiple times on the ride. It's just sort of going through the whole adventure. Because it's just a slow boat ride basically, where you're going through and you're just seeing all the like different areas of Port Royal and go to Tortuga, and so it's a cool ride in that way. And of course they're singing "Yo ho, a pirate's life for me,"
love that.
It's a great ride. I mean, it's a classic ride. It's really really a lot of fun, but it's stuff like that, like the fun. It gives the energy of a theme park ride, but like not in a way that feels like that feels like overdone. I think maybe the only part in it, the only sequence in the movie that maybe feels like maybe it's like a little too overwrought in that regard and making it feel like it's a theme park ride is actually maybe the introduction of the Ghost Pirates, like uh, the full crew, because they're all out and they're all basically doing what you would think animatronics would be doing at a Disney ride. They're all like, some of them are, they're all moving the ship, and some are cleaning the thing, and then Elizabeth falls down, and then some of them are, throw her up on the up above, and it's just this, it's fun, like set piece basically, and it maybe is a little too overdone. It kind of doesn't matter because it's fun, but that might be like maybe the only thing I would say would be maybe it's going a little too far on the.
Well,
feel like it's a theme park.
That's like the
ride.
positive and the negative for me is where like.
Yeah.
That's kind of why I didn't give it such a crazy high scores, because I kind of lump a lot of these kind of movies in the 8 area, 8 out of 10 score areas where they're great, but it's like I'm there for a fun time for the most part. It's not a crazy amount of depth to it to me. Like to me, I explain a lot of the stuff, and also the positives of the movies that like you don't have to sit there and be like, well, this is unrealistic that he would do this, or like him flinging himself up this way or that way. It's like, you set the expectations, the rules of the world early on, and it's like, okay, we're in for fun. You don't have to think too much about it.
Right. But that's where I think the script kind of rescues that idea. Like because like, okay, we reviewed Jungle Cruise, right? Another theme park based ride. I think Jungle Cruise is a lot of fun. I don't think the script is as smart as this. This is like this is like 2 cuts above that. I think it's just the script and the character writing. I think is sort of what elevates this for me, because like Barbossa's got a little bit of depth there. Jack Sparrow obviously is kind of the star of the show, even though he's the supporting character. He definitely has the depth there, but there's the growth and the changing of our other characters. Will Turner becoming more of a pirate. Because Jack Sparrow is a fairly static character overall. Like he learns to maybe like not use people. He works together with Will towards the end, even though he is still conniving the whole way. So Will definitely has like the arc, the character arc. I think that's the biggest of everyone, which is why he's Orlando Bloom's the lead character.
Even though I always consider Jack Sparrow the lead character, like I don't.
Jack Sparrow kind of still. That's what I mean. He steals the show a little bit. Yeah, I mean he's on the front. He's on the.
Like,
you tune into it on Disney Plus.
You don't have a movie with Jack Sparrow.
You do not have a movie. You don't have a movie without Jack Sparrow there. It does. The movie doesn't. It does. Yeah, it does not work without that character.
Will Turner does pretty much nothing without Jack Sparrow to play off of.
Well, that's what I mean. You have to have something like that to play off of.
So I did appreciate.
Like that. Yeah.
Something I didn't remember until rewatching it is the little gag that they have when they introduce Will Turner about like his master getting all the credit for stuff.
Oh yeah, stuff like that is also really good too. Yeah,
really good. Just like hits Jack Sparrow over the head at the end, and he's like, "Oh, good job! You've done your civic duty or whatever."
Yeah, I'm just doing my duty, sir. He's clearly drunk out of his mind. Yeah.
Yep. Because it was a nice. They have little writing things like that are nice details where they'll call back to little things that are more purposeful than you think. Like when Will Turner initially, when the guy's like, "Send my regards to your master" for like the sword, because then you realize after that's like, okay, clearly his master didn't have anything to do with the sword. That's why he's like, okay, I'll let him know. Thanks for that.
And that's the Norrington turn that I like a lot at the very end there. He's like, "This is a really good sword. I hope that whoever made it, knowing that it was him, shows the same amount of passion in the rest of his life." So he admits defeat. He's like, "Okay, I'm not gonna pursue Elizabeth anymore. She's your lady. I get that." Just like, good on ya. He accepts it.
Yeah, and there's clever writing things like that throughout, where like someone brings up the pirate code. To Will Turner, and then he kind of uses that when he shows up back without Jack Sparrow, as like because he knows they'll just go on without him because that's the pirate code.
Right.
It's like
right.
So he knew he didn't have to really explain much. He was like, "You got left." He fell behind or whatever. So
Yeah, fell behind.
we'll just
Yeah.
keep going. So they do have a little clever. It's
Yeah.
nice when lines seem purposeful. There's
Mhm.
there's not too many things that are throwaway lines that don't come back in some way. So,
There's even like little throwaway gags where like the flask, like where Gibbs's flask gets
mhm.
shoved in the cannon and then it ends up with Jack and he tries to drink out of it and he doesn't have anything and he gives it back to him. He's like, there wasn't anything in there. What the
Yeah.
heck's that all about? Like just little stuff like that is just like it's just really fun, clever. That's for me. It's just like very well. The continuity, the contiguous nature of the film just like works really well. Even like really little stuff like it's because it's only like a couple minutes later, but like when in the forge, Jack uses the the hot iron to make the donkey go,
Yeah.
and then Will picks that up, and then the donkey sees it, and then he starts moving at the end immediately.
Yeah.
So stuff like that.
It's
It's
the
just
most
like,
fucked
oh
up
man,
thing Jack Sparrow did in the movie.
pretty much. It's just making that donkey
up.
go with hot iron. That's not nice.
But yeah, and another thing this movie does, it doesn't get too much. They keep it light. It doesn't get into like
Yeah,
horrible, like them doing horrible things to each other. Even when they're
Right.
like grabbing Elizabeth Swan, I noticed when they all like grabbed her at one point, they're just like doing nothing. They're
Pretty
just
much,
like
yeah.
kind
It's-
of nondescriptly, like aggressively grabbing her, and nothing comes of it. And
Right.
that's what we want because we set the expectations to be this lighthearted, fun adventure. You don't need like
right. I mean, for the most sexed up place in the movie is just like a giant parody of a free for all, like it's like where it was like if all the places in the world were like this, no man would ever feel unwanted.
yeah.
Yeah, and it's just like wow, that place probably just crawling with STDs.
Yeah, they're so dirty, so
Mm.
nasty, and you can get really nasty when you get into pirates and concepts like that. You can get really nasty with it, but they keep it at surface level and they make fun
Yeah.
little gags and jokes out of stuff.
Yeah,
Just like when Will Turner splashes an extra bucket of water on him. Just
that was
that's
the
the
smell.
smell.
Yeah. What's his name? McNally. I can't remember his full name. That actor also is like perfect.
Hmm.
Like he's just kind of a side character. He's just a big character, but like he has the perfect voice for like every
Right.
sort of like pirate-ish character. You feel like he
always
is
the right hand man to the
he's
captain.
he's the right hand man. He has like the perfect accent for just telling a story, and that's why it's fun because he gets to tell some stories in this, and it's
Yeah.
great.
And Barbossa's cool.
Oh
Barbossa's
yeah,
very
well,
cool.
let's not forget Jeffrey Rush.
Yeah.
Also an amazing performance by him. I think he also oozing charisma. Like you can understand that this is a man that outwitted Jack in some way, or at least was able to persuade the crew to turn against Jack. He's more competent, more level-headed, but also
Right.
oozing charisma. The same as Jack.
Yeah, and
So
he's
it's like
he's not like an overly evil villain where it's like super over the top and that like I'm just doing this because I'm bad or whatever. Like he's always surprisingly hears reason a lot. Like someone he's about to kill is just like, well, I have this to offer for you that makes sense. Okay, deal.
Yeah,
Alright.
sure.
And
He's
then
just like ultimately.
he'll stick to the deal because it's
Yeah.
pirate code or whatever, and it's like, oh, you didn't specifically say where to drop her off or when to drop
Yeah.
her off, and then he'll just take
Right.
advantage of the fine
Vagueness
print,
of
yeah.
the details. Yep. But yeah, ultimately he's just a guy that just wants to live again.
Mhm.
That's like the main goal of the whole crew is they want to live again. So it's like I can kind of understand that. It must not be fun to be able to eat anymore
Right.
and not enjoy it and not be able to actually be sated, your hunger be sated and everything, So it's like
Yeah, some of that stuff is pretty clever though with how they use the curse of the Black Pearl and how they implement it is like I feel like they wouldn't do that in a lot of shows where like Jack Sparrow comes up with this idea like, well, before you go doing that, no, you should probably go take care of these guys while you are basically invincible, and then maybe
Yeah.
go turn back into humans.
Right.
And then he's like, go get the ships, and he's like, no, we go for a walk, and then they just stroll on the
underwater
ocean.
walk. Again, that's another thing that I like. The special effects team was very proud of that, and I was like, they should be, because that is another amazing shot. They're walking under the boat like that. It's so cool.
And the idea of that is very creepy, you know. And
Yeah.
like these guys creeping up, and there's nothing that these men can do about it, right? As far as you can tell, it's like they're invincible. You can't kill them. They're just about to be massacred, and they don't know what's coming.
Yeah. But that's also Governor Swan in the stateroom.
Yeah.
That's another fun comedic bit. It's just like, man, everyone's having these epic fights. You know, the Navy is having their epic bout. Elizabeth is doing a daring rescue. Jack and Will are fighting the rest of the pirates, and then you've got Governor Swan in there with a hand. He's dealing with this hand, and it's very silly and very fun.
And still, my favorite moment with him is probably early on when Will Turner is just like, I had a dream about you, about Elizabeth.
very, very problem.
He's like, are you sure I should be here for this?
Yeah, it's very, yeah.
I was very like, whoa, Will.
Yeah, Will's coming on real strong. Well, he's like, that's the thing. He's an awkward.
He's
kind of awkwardly earnest.
He's that innocent. He's just like,
yeah.
I had a dream about you, and he didn't think about that would sound at all.
Yeah.
When we first met.
They ooze chemistry too. That's the thing that's also fun. Like you can buy that romance that's just clear she's sweet on him, but it's like, but she's a proper lady. She's gonna have this, you know, she has to marry an officer. She has to marry the Commodore. You know,
the most unbelievable part of this whole element of this movie is that the Commodore was so just like okay with it. He was like, you know, whatever, you know, if that's how your heart is, okay.
Well, that's
like that's like very reasonable even for people nowadays, like for me and you to do that. And so
yeah, it is kind of funny.
This guy
but it's
who has
almost
so
like
much power, and you know,
It was I think it was a degree of, because earlier on in the movie he wouldn't have done that. Like earlier on in the movie he wouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
But towards the end, he had a little bit of a change of heart.
Yeah.
So it's like,
it's just kind of hard to believe they would have that much of a change of heart, like him and the governor, because like you still saw like these pirates were still being horrible, like these freaking pirates that came up from the water were trying to were slaughtering everybody, like it's just like, oh, pirates can be good people too. It's just hard to believe they would take that away from it after they just witnessed just a horrifying thing.
There's those pirates, and then there's the good pirates, the good guys.
Yeah. But even ultimately, the point I'm making is that, like, I'm just surprised he was very gracious. He was like, all right, you got that. You got more riz than me.
That bag.
And, that's it.
Go off, king.
Yes. And then he was like, even after that, he was kind of surprised me. He was like, oh, we could give him a day's head start, you know?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
He was just in a good mood. I guess he got outwitted, and he's like, you know what?
How could you appreciate a good after that?
I can appreciate game. Game can appreciate game.
He got outmaneuvered every way. Lost everything.
No.
You know.
No, he's still Commodore. That's pretty great.
I guess so.
Yeah.
But the whole, I mean, we established the whole kind of running gag with when they first he proposed to Elizabeth Swan too, and she's just like, I'm gonna pass out. What did she say?
Yeah, I can't breathe.
I can't breathe. Yeah.
Yeah. Because of so that's another thing. Contiguous stuff. Yeah. So the corset, very hard to breathe in if you're not used to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Try wearing a corset.
You like pain? Try wearing a corset.
Yeah. Or
that's a pretty corny one. But...
Or like, she's not breathing, and it's like tears it open. How'd you know to do that? Clearly, you've never been to Singapore. It's like, what the hell does that mean?
Jasper's up to some crazy stuff and yeah, and he keeps getting slapped by all these ladies too.
Okay. Oh, another thing I wanted to talk about, Zoe Saldana. This is like one of her first film roles.
Yeah, I completely forgot she was in this. Yeah,
she kills it. She's great. She's, it's not a very huge part, but like, she's great. And she goes on to be in like all these major franchises after that: Star Trek, Guardians of the Galaxy, Marvel Universe.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, look at her go. Freaking Avatar.
Yeah.
She's in so much stuff.
And she was great. She is great.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's always interesting when it's been years since I've watched movies like this. You just see a random actor that I did not remember was in that at all. Never would associate her with like a pirates movies, but
Yep.
it fits. Yeah, fun stuff. Fun stuff.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts before we wrap it up?
I mean the score. I mean, it's.
Well, we're
it's
gonna give
in
her
the-
a score at the end.
Yeah. No. The soundtrack of this movie
Yeah.
is just it's stellar. I mean, you can't really say much more than that.
It's
Klaus
cool.
Badelt gets the or Klaus Bidet. Klaus Bidet. Klaus Badelt. I don't know how you pronounce his last name. Gets the credit. It's in the he's in like the Hans Zimmer kind of like group of people. Like one of the reasons why like Hans Zimmer for a really long time was never like nominated for any particular scores is because they were all more or less group efforts. So it's kind of like so many cooks in the kitchen. It was kind of hard to like, you couldn't nail one person.
Okay.
It's like all of them were doing composing like at the same time. So it's not just that like Hans Zimmer did the compositions and then he has like a bunch of orchestrators, because that's how those like that's how that works in general anyways. Like John Williams has a bunch of orchestrators that work for him. So he composes the music and then they figure out how to fit that in with everything else, obviously with consultation from him.
Mm-hmm.
Well, like Hans Zimmer stuff for a really long time anyway. It was like everyone was like doing everything kind of. So I think Klaus Badelt got the credit because I think he did, from memory, it's like he did some of more of the, like he did like maybe more of like tying everything together. Hans Zimmer gets the main credit, I think, for basically the whole rest of the franchise, from memory. Other people that worked in that group, Steve Jablonsky was one of them. There's a couple others that are somewhat notable in film scores, but I mean, it's stellar. I mean, what more can you say? It's great. It's a great soundtrack.
You know, they knew they had something great with this iconic theme. It's like they knew it was gonna be iconic because they repurposed it. You know, gave it new life in different contexts and recomposed it in different ways to make it like fun and wacky, to make it really like.
They make a love theme out of it. It's like it's really good. They did do a really good job with a lot of that. Yeah.
I mean, you get it. You got it. Like, killed it. Because it's just such a good job of just capturing the whole feeling of the movie. You know what they're going.
I think one of my favorite cues in the whole movie is when Elizabeth is duping Jack, getting him drunk so that she can make the huge fire.
Yeah.
But like that's like one of my favorite music cues in the whole thing, when he's talking about like what a ship is. Mm-hmm. The music that plays during that, I love that. I've always loved that. It's like, yeah, that's just also another example of a character being just very clever. She outspits him. Mm-hmm. She knows she can
Survivor.
That's why we love outplay, outlast.
Yeah.
Previously on Survivor.
We're definitely getting Jack Sparrow in Tarqaron All Stars. Sure.
Elizabeth blew up the whole rum stores.
Mm-hmm.
When she burned the rum, me and my housemate were like, "Let's go. Let's do it." We got some rum. We made some rum and ginger. Like we made
not what you would have wanted.
Not a dark and stormy, but a misty and cloudy, gray and windy. I don't know what you got. The dark and stormy requires that you use Gosling's rum and like a specific kind of ginger beer, I think. But anyway,
well, Elizabeth would not have wanted that.
She wouldn't have wanted that, but you know, why is the rum always gone? And we finished off that bottle of rum, so the rum's gone. You know. Yeah. I say.
I thought you should have been like, looked over to him. You want to do it? Yeah, you can just go light your rum on fire outside.
You just go light it on fire. Just out in the backyard.
All right, let's give our final scores. All right. Let's put this one to rest. Flip. Bum, bum, bum. 9. A synchronized moment. Pew, pew.
I think I don't want to come across as too, because like 9.5 is very like that's only a little point away from a 10. It's like when I would I
Very
really
high.
would I really call it that? I'm not
Uh,
sure.
I had problems
Nine is
even giving
nine
a
is still
9. I was
yeah,
really-
9 is still very respectable though, because I think this film does deserve a lot of praise. I think it's like I said, it's aged just very gracefully, and I think it's only going to continue to do so.
If I were going to give it to an exact score, I probably would have given like 8.75 because it was really leaning between 8.5 and a 9. I
Yeah.
was torn just because I know some other things I've given 9 on this channel I would definitely put a notch above this, but
Mhm.
it feels like it deserves that as far as like this kind of movie that you don't take too seriously for a fun time. I mean, it does it is about as good as you can do it, and it has some
pretty much.
iconic characters out of it that like. Again, if we imagine we knew nothing about Jack Sparrow and then are introduced to him, you get a bump from that.
Yeah.
It's hard to account for just knowing Jack Sparrow already. It's just like a known entity.
Yeah.
But
I think for me the point 5 was maybe a little bit of the nostalgia talking somewhat. I mean, I think my just general temperament towards the movie does have a lot of that with it. When I was like 12 when the movie first came out, I didn't see it in theaters. I saw it on like DVD or whenever when it came out that way. But I remember it being my brother was dating my sister-in-law at the time, and I remember they talked about going to see it in theaters and really think it was a lot of fun, really good, and yeah, I mean, I think a lot of really just generally good memories tied to the movie. I think. I mean, it's like I've said, I've seen it a lot, and I'm gonna continue to watch it in the future. It's just a really
it's timeless, right?
really good movie. Yeah.
And like, I feel like almost anyone can enjoy this movie. It's one of those too.
Yeah.
It's got a wide appeal.
Really.
It's tough. I mean, 9. I went up a whole point.
Yeah.
So, but it's amazing. It's because as I'm talking about it, it's like I didn't really have anything negative to say about it.
Mhm.
So it's hard to like dock it too many points.
Mhm.
It's because I had so many good things to say about it. And thinking about like Mission Impossible, which was on our more recent reviews.
Mhm.
I remember I gave that my gut score was an 8 on that movie, and I was like, this movie's definitely better than that movie. So, and it's like significantly better. I ended up with like a 7.5 on that, but yeah, it's definitely worth acknowledging, and it likely will be the highest score of these movies. This is my prediction.
I think it. I mean, I can kind of confidently say that, and I said, as I said when we started, I like all of them. I do I remember liking all of them.
I remember liking most of them, and I have by far the most memory of this first one. So really, it's like kind of a blind spot. These next few ones, I remember some distinct moments. Kraken comes to mind, Penelope Cruz comes to mind. It's coming back to me.
The Maelstrom.
Yeah.
Multiple Jack Sparrows. We've got a lot of wacky shit that we're about to go through.
Is in the last most recent movie. Yeah. Some weird stuff. We're gonna get into it though. Next time, Dead Man's Chest. It's coming up.
Dead Man's Chest.
All right. That's a Tarqaron score of 9 out of 10.
Yeah.
It's an excellent,
pretty solid.
Excellent score.
Yeah, I mean it's a great movie. It's among the greats of our channel, I think, and I think it deserves its place.
And we'll see where it goes from here, because I really have no idea where my scores will go with these next few, because I have no idea. Like I remember the moments, but I don't remember my overall feelings of each movie.
To be perfectly honest, I don't either. It's been long enough since I've seen the sequels that like I don't know how I'm gonna feel about them when I watch them again. I know certain things that I really like about them, and I know certain things that I really don't like about them. But like seeing them all come together is gonna be. I'm looking forward to that for sure.
I'm going in with a relatively open mind. We'll see how it shapes up.
Same.
So, all right. Thank you for watching and joining us today. What video would you recommend our viewers watch next?
You mentioned it. Go check out our Mission Impossible review.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We did that one in person. We spun the
Yeah.
wheel on our series called Chance Time, which gives us random movies to watch. Ended up on Mission Impossible, and we watched it right there in person and reviewed it the day
Yeah.
after. Yeah.
It's another fun one too. I would say it's
It's
a
fun.
fun
You
movie.
can kind of turn your brain off, even though there's a lot of moving parts. So in some ways you can't. Because if you do turn your brain off for like a half hour and you come back, it's like, what is happening?
What's happening? What's going on now?
How is this person here again?
Yeah.
All right, check it out.
Yeah.
Subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed, like the video, and until next time. All right, now.
All right.